I spent $7,623 on Upwork Connects, and the results I got were insane. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining how I spent those Upwork Connects, what kind of metrics I got, and also how much money did I make in the process. And for context, that's about $50 a day, every day for 160 days on Upwork. And if you don't already know, my name's Ryan, and all we talk about on this YouTube channel is Upwork and how to land whale clients on the platform. So let's get straight into it. So like I said, $7,623. Not a small amount of money, but over 160 days, that is around $50 a day or just underneath. Now, what I've went ahead and done is I've actually put this into a Google Sheet. You can actually copy this Google Sheet if you want to track your own metrics. I've put the link for that in the description below. So first of all, let me just verify it. So if I head over to upwork.com, but before we get started, let me actually just go ahead and verify that. So if we look this year and then we filter by connects only, you can see I've spent $7,623. So about $1,270 of that is obviously in taxes from Upwork. So actually, really, it's about $6,352. Now, if you're wondering how many connects that is in total, that is 42,350 connects, which sounds crazy when you sound it like that, because every connect is about 18 cents. But really, it's not that much money in the grand scheme of things. And I think once you actually watch further in this video, you'll realize like how profitable it is. So over those 160 days, we had 16,872 profile views. So this is somebody that has viewed my Upwork profile, not necessarily clicked on it, but has just viewed it. Now you might be wondering, why don't you show the impressions? Well, the weird thing is I think Upwork's impressions are kind of broken. And if you're on Upwork, you kind of know what I mean. Like I have less impressions than I do profile views, which doesn't really make any sense because it's supposed to go impressions, profile views, clicks, invites, and then obviously booked calls and then jobs and so on. But for some reason, their impression section is broken. It's a multi-billion-dollar company and they can't show you the correct impressions, which is crazy. But yeah, like I said, 16,872 views, and we've had a total of 1,119 clicks. So the views to clicks ratio is 6.63%, which is pretty decent, I would say. So for every 100 people that view my profile, 6 of them will go ahead and click on my profile. Now, to be honest, I could probably improve that, but once you see the next few metrics, you'll realize that the profile is actually quite high converting. So we have 1,119 clicks, but the invites that we got and direct messages was 349. So that's a 31.19% click to invite ratio. And you might notice it says invite/DMs. Upwork doesn't track the DMs. So like if somebody sends you an invite, that gets tracked in the My Stats section. But if somebody directly DMs you, it doesn't show up in the My Stats section as an invite. So it's super annoying. I wish Upwork would fix this because it makes a big difference, especially when you're boosting and you have an inbound strategy. Because as you know on this channel, if you haven't watched me before, I don't send proposals. All of this is inbound and an inbound strategy via boosting, but you need to be able to know if people are DMing you, because DMing is, I would say, like 30–40% of the leads that I get. So it's really important to actually go back and track. And honestly, going back and looking for this information takes forever. Anyway, like I said, views to clicks so far is 6.63%. We've got 31% on clicks to invites. But what about like booked calls? What about revenue? Let's get into some of these juicy numbers. So of all of the people that invited me to their job or directly DM'd me from the boosting and inbound strategy that I was doing, we had around 17% of those people booking a call. So around 60 book calls total in the last 160 days. So for context, that's about 2.5 calls a day. I think 2.6 calls a day-ish, but it definitely feels like more. But if you really spread it out and you obviously like, I don't take calls on weekends, for example, and I don't work on Sundays. So it kind of, spreads out quite nicely. So about 2.5 calls a day. Now for context, I fully outsource the messaging and the sales calls on my Upwork profile. And I'm actually going to be making a full video about how I did that and how I've structured that, because it's actually fully TOS compliant with Upwork. And I checked from Upwork and I have written confirmation for it. So I can't wait to actually show you that so you can see like how you don't even need to take the calls anymore and still make money with Upwork. But that'll be in another video. But now we get into the juicy stuff. So from all of those booked calls, all those invites, those DMs, all those conversations that we had, we made around $214,600 to date. Now, it's actually closer to about $400K. The only reason I say 214K is because that's what's technically cleared on my profile in the last 160 days. And I can actually show you that by just filtering right here. And you can actually do this. I'll show you. So yeah, you go to transactions on Upwork, and then you go to earnings, and then you filter by this year. And as you can see, 214,600. Like I said, it is a bit higher. It's actually about 400K-ish. I'm just waiting for a few of these deals to go through, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Because obviously, I would love to jump on this YouTube channel and say, I made 400K in 160 days. And technically, that is true in terms of closed deals, but some of those deals haven't finished like being paid and things like that, right? So as an example, if I show you one of my deals, like this deal, for example, this deal is for $160,000, but I think next week we get paid the next milestone of this, and the next milestone is 22,000. We've already collected 77,000, but there's like another 100 grand basically almost here. But we literally, well, that's not true, actually a little bit less than that, but we still have to collect that. So I can't necessarily say that I've earned that yet. But if you were to look at total deal value, it's probably closer to about 400K. I don't want to reveal the exact number and the profit margin exactly. It's about 60%-ish. But yeah, currently from withdrawn on Upwork that like it actually came to me in my bank account, $214,000. And $600 on top of that. So if you do the maths of that, that is around $1,300 I'm making every single day in revenue on Upwork. But that's just revenue, so obviously profit, about 60%, let's say. That's about $800 a day profit into my bank account that I can spend on making YouTube videos for you guys and stuff like that. But overall, super happy with the results so far. And to be honest, if I was again to put 400K, it'd be way bigger. It'd be like $2,000 a day or something. But anyway, that's just like the revenue, the numbers, the views, the clicks. But let's actually look at some of the more important metrics. And by the way, I don't know if it already came out yet, but I have a full tracking course coming out on YouTube on how to track for your Upwork account. And I honestly think this is going to be like so valuable for you guys on YouTube because I've never seen anybody talk about it. And I'm going to be giving away some free resources and stuff like that. But let's jump into some of these like more important metrics. So cost per click is currently $6.81. So every single time somebody clicks on my profile, it costs me $6. So when you guys watch my YouTube channel and then you go and click on my Upwork profile, it literally costs me $6 every single time. So yeah, please don't do that. Please stop spamming my Upwork profile because I do see it. But what about cost per reply? Currently, it's $21.84. And I know over 90 agencies on Upwork. $21 is definitely, you know, in the very, very good range. I would say on average, it's closer to about $30 to $40 for a lot of people. But yeah, $21 for a reply is super good for me. And my clicks to deal is about 55. So every 55 clicks that I get on my profile, I usually end up closing one of those deals. But what's interesting is if you look down here, the average deal size and the LTV for my customers so far, based on these numbers, is about $10,730. So it's definitely worth it, right? Like every click costs me what? $6.81. So that means my CAC, my cost to acquire a customer, is $381. So I'm basically trading $381, let's say $400 to acquire $10,000 worth of business. And again, this is based on the 200K number. Really, it's about 400K. So if I was to change this to 400K, you can start to see that it's actually much more efficient in terms of like, you know, my cost to acquire a customer and so on. Now, if you look on the far right here, this number, in my opinion, is like the kind of North Star that you should be looking at when it comes to Upwork, and it's your revenue per connect. So for every $1 you spend on Upwork Connects, how many dollars do you get back? And currently for me, that's about $28. And to be honest, if you've seen some of my other YouTube videos, I think it was as high as $36 at one point, but it slightly went a little bit down, I'll be fully transparent. But still 28x on my money on Upwork Connects, and I'm only going to continue scaling this. And to be honest, like I need to take my own advice. I give this advice to all of my students at Upwork Wales to, you know, spend more if it's profitable, but I've still only really been spending about $50 a day, right? $7,623 divided by 160 days. What's that? $47 a day. It's not even really that much money in the grand scheme of things. We all spend probably about $50 a day anyway. But as you can see, tracking on Upwork is very important. important. Having all of this data to just look at completely objectively and just like raw is super helpful. And by the way, if you want to, when you download this, and it's in the description, right, it's free, but you can also click down here on the bottom left and click create a canvas. So what you'll need to do is obviously make a copy, but you can create a canvas. And Google now has a Gemini mode where you can basically make like a dashboard out of this automatically, and you can get really creative with how you build this. But yeah, overall, super happy with the results so far. We're obviously only 160 days into the year, and I think by the end of the year, I'm gonna try my best. I'm really trying my best to get to over $1 million from Upwork in a year. Nobody has ever showed that on Upwork, and I just want to be the first one to do it. I remember making a YouTube video a while ago saying that my goal this year was to make 500K, but I've basically already achieved that. So I want to go a bit bigger. I want to do something that nobody's ever done before on YouTube, Upwork, niche, space, whatever. And I hope you're enjoying the journey and you're here for the long term. But anyway, I'll see you in the next video. And if you haven't already, definitely download this sheet. I don't charge any money for it. I don't put it behind a paywall. It's literally just the Google Sheet link. You can just have it. And if you haven't subscribed as well, I would really appreciate it. We just hit 11,000 subscribers and I'm super happy. I'm here to serve you, and I'll see you in the next video.